England is full of old buildings, although some have a darker past than others. During a particularly windy autumnal night, Alistair, a man in his 60s, was entering such a building to perform some electrical maintenance work. It was a semi-refurbished Victorian boarding school. The grounds were filled with overgrown weeds, which spread into the cracking walls of the building like a disease. Alistair grabbed his toolkit, closed the door of his van, and approached the main entrance of the school. He took the key from his pocket, unlocked the door, and went inside. A strong smell of paint lingered about the place, as some of the rooms had already been redecorated. However, much of the building was untouched. Alistair flicked on his torch and examined his surroundings, whilst heading for the main breaker room. The ground floor corridor was filled with ancient typewriters and books, everything caked in a thick layer of dust. After walking for several minutes, a sharp knock echoed through the corridor. Alistair stopped, feeling uneasy, and focused his torch beam down the centre of the corridor. No one was there. After a few more seconds of silence, Alistair pulled a crowbar out of his tool bag. Better safe than sorry, he thought to himself. After reaching the breaker room, he flicked the switch, but after it fizzled pathetically, nothing happened. Alistair promptly replaced the fuse and tried again. All the bulbs flickered to life, saturating the immediate area with a soft light. With a sigh of relief, Alistair picked up his tool bag and headed back to the corridor. It was only with the light that he realised how long the main corridor was. He could barely see to the other end. That was when he heard a distant shattering sound as one of the lights at the end of the corridor exploded, plunging it into darkness. Alistair scratched his head, wondering what could have caused this, when the next light closest to him followed suit. Dropping his tool bag, Alistair stepped back, as one by one the lights self-destructed. The darkness of the main corridor was getting closer and closer. Alistair broke into a run, but winced in pain as his arthritis flared up. The darkness was approaching, so he burst into one of the classrooms, slammed the door shut, and wedged a chair against the handle. The shattering had stopped, and Alistair could see a slither of light from underneath the jammed door. Panting, he turned off his flashlight so as not to draw attention to himself. That was when the light outside the door exploded more loudly than any of the others, plunging everything into complete shadow. Alistair's eyes began to adjust to the darkness. He tried to turn his flashlight back on, but that too had been destroyed as he felt the shards of glass at his feet. A light slowly whirred into life behind Alistair, making a faint crackling noise. Spinning round, Alistair noticed a Victorian projector that was producing a bright square of light on the blank wall beside him. Alistair turned to the projection, only to see a film of the school itself, 100 or more years past. School children ran across the now derelict and overgrown playground, whilst teachers meaningfully entered and exited the building. Alistair could not see the whole frame, as his shadow was in the way. He was about to step aside when the silhouette of a hand entered into view on the right-hand side of the frame. However, nothing was casting its shadow. The hand turned into an arm, and the arm into a body, until the twisted form of a woman appeared as a shadow before him. Alistair turned to walk the other way, but another ominous female shadow had appeared on the other side. Both women were oddly proportioned, twisted, but distinctly female. They cautiously approached Alistair's shadow, making him feel uneasy. That was when the room grew very warm, and soon became unbearably hot. The projection of the school then froze, and both women began to slowly emerge from the wall, their features becoming more and more evident. Bright red eyes, accompanied by needle-thin teeth, pointed themselves towards Alistair. Terrified, he ran for the door, removed the chair from it, and tried to pull it open, but the door would not budge. That was when he felt long, spindly fingers clasp around his shoulders. Alistair tried to break free, but the fingers had an unnatural strength about them. They sharply twisted Alistair around, allowing him to see the faces of the demons that held him. Their long, twisted limbs attached to what vaguely resembled a female torso. Both women stared at him with glee, unhinging their jaws to inhuman proportions. Alistair could only manage a weak scream before both women devoured him and left him in eternal darkness.